Hi there, my name is Johnny Meatsack. Like you, I once held a normal life in a normal place with a normal job. I had a normal family. Hi, Karen. And simply thought I'd live my normal life to a normal death. One day, however, I experienced this thing called gnosis, a direct revelation of a truer but distant reality, and the realization that my reality was a fabricated construct. I discovered my life was a lie and my identity was as synthetic as Alexa or Siri, and that the universe itself was a penitentiary built by cosmic overlords to trap and feed off my dormant, authentic consciousness. Jiminy crickets, I thought. My only choices were to join an awareness-killing cult like a political party or just kill myself. But by some luck or providence, Sophia's grace, I discovered Aeon Byte Gnostic Radio. Despite the host's creepy monologues and the show's blasphemous topics, I was able to develop the ability to uncover my authentic consciousness and deal with this prison planet. In other words, this gnosis grew until I was a fully divine being, no longer in the thrall of entities called archons and their soul-numbing, amnesia-causing powers. Thank you, Aeon Byte, for waking me up to my true eternal nature. Everything is still normal these days, except me, Johnny Meatsack. I'm on the adventure of many lifetimes to be completely liberated from the Black Iron Prison.
What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck?
We are all Johnny Meatsack in the Canoma. We are all here in a world where men have nipples, but that's why you have arrived here at the Virtual Alexandria and at Aeon Byte to figure out a way out, and the way out is really out, and it involves going within. My name is Miguel Connor, and I am your Pompatus of Gnosis. Glad to see everybody who's joining us live on this Friday. And I hope everybody is doing well and that you are writing your own gospel and living your own myth, that you are running with those searching for the truth and avoiding those who have found it. And this is a redo. Last time the tech archons got the upper hand, and they've been busy on this one, attacking our guest, attacking me. And but we are here and we will persevere against them, thar archons. So we will be discussing a presentation I'm sure many of you are looking forward to. I know I am. And that is from Mr. David Block. David, great to see you again, and good luck.
Thank you, Miguel. Nice to be here with you, Vance, and your audience. And has been a tough one, this one. I had to work until 6 o'clock my time. I thought I would be done like 11 o'clock. Problem upon problem upon problems until I solved it. So it's interesting phenomena, to say the least.
I hear you. I've been through that recently. And how are you doing, Vance? Has Yaldi Baldi been kinder to you?
Oh, more or less. Yeah, we had David's back. I had it all set up in case his didn't work. And sitting here and thinking that, according to Gnosticism, we're all AI. It's just that Yaldi has admin privileges.
Very true. But yeah, that is true. So, well, we'll hack them. Yeah. That's our job. We are the hackers of the Pleroma. We're Sophia's hackers. So
that's right.
So awesome. Well, we probably should get started. Not much else on housekeeping. I did want to mention something, speaking of Yaldi Baldi and his admins of reality. Recently, God, it's amazing how life happens, but a quick backstory. I was another podcast provider reached out to me. They're a startup, great company, and they offered to pay me or do ads for twice as much. Of course, yeah, I'll do it. no problem. But of course, sometimes they leave things out because it's a startup. So I jump ship to them to be my podcast provider. And guess what? They don't, like most other platforms that are out there, they pay monthly. They only pay like once every 6 months. So needless to say, I am screwed. I can't even pay rent or any bills this month because I thought I was going to get paid. So I'm in a bit of a pickle. So yeah, please support if you can. And I know many of you understand these things happen, whether you're content creators or whether you're freelancers, especially in the freelancing world. You can relate. A client is late with paying the bill, or there's a glitch, and you are just scrambling to figure out how to make ends meet. And that's just the world we live in. Again, if you have more freedom instead of working for some corporation, there is a lot less safety. It's a great paradox of the world. The more freedom, the less safety you'll have. The more safety, the less freedom you'll have. So that's the situation I'm in. I'm sure everything will work out. I was thinking of being like Ralph Fiennes in that overlooked Gnostic movie Strange Days and go sell like false memories out on the street. So that might have to be my next option here. So if you can, please support, or don't forget those independent content creators and freelancers that are trying to work under the radar of Yaldi Baldi. And it sucks, but it goes with the territory. So that's all I have on my end. We should probably get started while the internet is good and the weather is good. David, take it all away for us. You are now the Demiurge.
Yeah, that's nice. I hope the good Demiurge.
Yeah, the one of Plato, not the one of the Gnostic.
Exactly. Yeah, this is a rerun. Didn't manage to put it together last time. This is a complete remake of the presentation. So it's a lot of new information, and I take it. I've deleted some of the information, and I think this presentation is much better. I hope you will like it. But it has been very hard. A lot of things have just went against me, but I managed to put it together finally, and I hope I can deliver. I worked very hard until 1 hour ago, so now I really hope you will enjoy it. Yes, let's put the presentation up.
Let's see if I am bated breath with this one. Let's see. Where are you? There you go. All right. The presentation
thank you.
And we are there.
Great. So AI, Kubrick's future dystopia. And of course, we are going to talk about the movie AI. That's in focus here. But also Kubrick as a director, because I will talk about his other movies as well, especially 4 of them. So this presentation comes in 12 parts. Part 1 is The Future is Dark. Part 2, AI. Part 3, Pinocchio. Frankenstein. Transhumanism. The Aeon of Horus. The Sex Machine. The Age of Saturn. Electric Sheeps. And then we have an epilogue. Decoding the Grail myth. So what I will do here today is decoding the Grail myth, the Arthur, the Camelot myth. Part 10, The Grail in Your Hand. Part 11, Firewalk with Me. And part 12, In the End. And I hope we will manage to do the full presentation here today. But if we don't, if it takes too much time, then we will break where the epilogue are now. I hope we can take you through all of this, of course. But if I can't, we break where the epilogue are right now. But I hope I can decode the Grail myth for you here today. Part 1, The Future is Dark. And of course, we have a lot of movies, science fiction movies that are quite dark in its tone. We have The Terminator, for example, with Arnold, of course. James Cameron was the director. We had Skynet taking over, very dark future. And the franchise went on far too long, could be like 2-part and then it's over. The third one was okay, I think. The rest we could do without.
Yeah.
And of course, The Matrix, the movie Matrix, very interesting movie, very esoteric movie. And a lot of different esoteric traditions put together in this movie. You have Gnosticism, you have Kabbalah, you have the left-hand path. But very interesting, and everybody knows about this movie. Another movie that's very interesting, I think, is Blade Runner 2049. This is the newer movie, the new Blade Runner movie. It's not that new today, but it was very interesting movie. And a couple of things I want to point out with this movie is that the heavy theme of raining. It's always raining in the Blade Runner. And also the movie Matrix, I consider the crawl, the Matrix, the green Matrix pattern is like raining down on the screen. And this raining is, of course, on the outset, it's all about climate change and the water is rising, but it's much more than that. Because water is mem. So we talking about memory, science, language, and nations as well. And mem is a Hebrew letter, and the meaning behind the word mem is memory, science, nations, language. And if you see the movie Blade Runner 2049, you will realize that the movie is about memory, false memory, and what it means to be, what we are without memory, and what memory do for us in terms of false memories or not remembering who we are and so on. That's a big theme. Also in the movie Dark City, of course, wonderful movie.
Yeah.
With a heavy Gnostic theme. And it is important for me to point out that there are a lot of science fiction movies, there are a lot of movies, esoteric movies, that doesn't talk about the Cliffotic tree and the left-hand path. It is not me force-fitting Kubrick's movies towards the Cliffotic tree and the left-hand path. But for me, I see Stanley Kubrick's choice, and Stanley Kubrick focused a lot about the Cliffotic tree and the left-hand path. Doesn't mean that all movies, I don't try to force fit every movie into this model. But what I will argue is that Stanley Kubrick was very interested in the left-hand path, and that he took inspiration from some movies who had a left-hand path Cliffotic tree theme, like The Wizard of Oz, Tolkien, and he was very well versed in it. He knew a lot about it. I always want to point that out. Right, part 2, AI. So let's decode the movie first before we move on from here on. What is the movie AI about? And I also want to point out, of course, that Kubrick didn't direct the movie, but he designed, he used a lot of graphics for the movie. So we know we know a lot about Kubrick's vision of it. And to be honest, I think Steven Spielberg made a quite good effort, and I don't think the movie is bad in any way. I think it's a very interesting movie, and I still see Stanley Kubrick in the movie. Therefore, I'm quite convinced that Steven Spielberg did a great job with the movie. A couple of things I want to point out when it comes to Kubrick is his first movie, Fear and Desire. In that movie, it is a lot about Carl Jung's psychology, the unconscious, the darkness, the shadow. And that is important because what I argue is that Kubrick became interested in esoteric topic or esoteric theory very early on in his life. And that's important because, according to me, Kubrick was very well read when we come to esoteric philosophies and practices. So it started in a very young age. And you can see this in the movie The Shining. In one scene, you can see the Red Book of Carl Jung, and the Red Book wasn't published yet. Therefore, he had a lot of inside information and good context, according to me. Another very heavy topic in The Shining is Thelema, OTO, and AA, organization created by Aleister Crowley. And this is very important because I will argue that Kubrick come back to Aleister Crowley, Left-Hand Path, and Carl Jung in his movies. Now, you can argue if Aleister Crowley was a left-hand path practitioner or a right-hand path practitioner, or in something in between. Another thing he used a lot was Disney. You will see Disney characters in the movie The Shining. You will see it in this movie. And it was something that Kubrick wanted to use for his narrative. I will focus on 4 of his movies in this presentation. And I talked about these movies before. So I will come back to them and point out connections between them. And the movies are A Space Odyssey 2001, The Shining, Eyes Wide Shut, and of course AI. Because there are connections between these movies, and I want to point them out because it's very easy to miss them. Kubrick was you have to see all the details, and the details are very telling. So if you miss the details, you will not get the full scope of his movies. And I will prove that here today. Another thing with Kubrick is that he liked to use books and other movies for inspiration. But people doesn't understand Kubrick according to me. He didn't want to do a movie that was very close to the book. Rather, he used the book as a framework for his work. And sometimes he used the book to enhance his narrative or make his vision bigger through the book. So you can combine his movies and read the book, and then you get the fuller scope or fuller understanding of what Kubrick wanted to tell the audience. And of course, that's a wonderful idea, because a movie is limited in length, and a movie is very costly to produce. A book is much cheaper, and you can make the narrative more epic in scope, and you can say much more with the movie if you understand the book as well. Doesn't mean that he copied the book, he used it as a framework to make his movies more deeper in scope. So in the movie AI, once again, water is a heavy theme in the movie. And right in the beginning, he let us know that it is climate change and the ice is melting. So the cities is overrun by water and drowning. Cities underwater or partially underwater. And of course, for me, I think of Atlantis time and the end of Atlantis period, where, according to me, the Demiurge wanted to drown humanity in water. Once again, water is much more than just water. So the act of drowning is much more than just a physical drowning of humanity. It's about memory. So it is about memory loss, to wipe clean the human race of memory, and also to take away the soul, the spark. Because to drown humanity in water is to drown what humanity are in water, and humanity are body and soul. So in the movie, in the beginning, this man, the scientist, have a discussion with a lady who asks him a question about, can we love these machines, these androids back? And his answer is, didn't God create Adam to love him? And do we love God back? And of course, right away, Kubrick let us know that it is a heavy Bible theme in the movie. And of course, I will decode that and much more. But the Bible is in the front. He used the Bible when he created the narrative, the story. So I will give you a couple of quotes from Kenneth Grant. And Kenneth Grant was the successor of Aleister Crowley. Man is the word, woman is the act, the child is the word made flesh by the act. This is the magic of the 9th degree OTO. Only when mind and body are thus in accord, and when the mind concentrates the image or child that the body is to bear, is an act of magical creation possible. This child is rarely a human child, but it is physical in the sense that it influences the material plane. And everybody knows, hopefully, that Crowley write this book, The Moon Child. And so this is a kind of a moon child. A moon child doesn't has to be a child. And I want to point out that I'm not saying that Crowley necessarily had these views, but rather another esoteric organization or people have used his knowledge or his esoteric system to have their version of it, or to use it and turn it against us instead. The aeon of the crowned and conquering child is a symbolic way of saying that in the present age, man will learn how to materialize thought and make it truly creative. Such methods of birth will supersede the production of human children. By means of this sexual magic of Thelema, it will be possible to breed a race of beings in every way superior to the generated by the normal use, or more correctly, abuse of the sexual energies. And last, the babe in the egg mentioned in Al is the magical thought child in his auric or akashic capsule, ready for launching into space, i.e. the womb of Nuit. And Al is, of course, the book of the law and the most important book for Thelema and OTO. Everything is based on that book. Oh, sorry, it was one more quote. This is the magic that Crowley taught in the OTO, the occult order of indefinite antiquity, which have appeared in different guises throughout the century. It achieved a high degree of notoriety in the 18th century when the Bavarian adept Adam Weishaupt reorganized it under the name of the Order of the Illuminati, in accordance with the needs of his period. So here you have a connection to Adam Weishaupt and Illuminati, and I will of course come back to that because it's very important. It's very important in this presentation and for Stanley Kubrick. In the movie AI, we have a heavy Pinocchian theme, of course, and you you will see it. I mean, Pinocchio is an artificial boy. He's wood, and he wants to become a real boy. That's his drive. That is his like life's mission. And of course, Pinocchio was Disney made a movie, Pinocchio. I think it was 1940, if I remember correctly. So you have water and climate change. MEM, once again, is science, memory, nations. And science is not very clear in the definition of, or in the Hebrew letter MEM. It's a little bit vague. But the connection is through Poseidon, and Poseidon is Enki, and Enki is the god of magic and science. And of course, Enki and Poseidon lives in water. They are a god that lives in water or thrives in water. So the movie Pinocchio is really about alchemy. It is about evolution, devolution of man, depending on how you view it. Is it an evolution, or is it about devolution? What are they talking about here? They have a Pinocchio theme park in the graphics Kubrick created for the movie. Therefore, we know that Pinocchio was in a forefront for Stanley Kubrick's inspiration for the movie. So a very important inspiration for Kubrick. No surprise there, of course. But if you notice in the background, in the movie, you will also see a lot of sexual stuff going on in the architecture, in the machines. There are pleasure machines is a big thing in the movie. And there are architecture of naked ladies in different postures, and that's the architecture design he wanted for the movie, for a reason, of course. Sex and caves, sex and female anatomy, the clofotic tree, The Shining, because sex and caves is a heavy theme in the clofotic tree. The first Cliffi you're supposed to work with is Lilith, and you are entering Lilith's cave. But Lilith's cave is of flesh, and it is living. It is not a dead cave. And you're supposed to transform yourself through this metaphysical confrontation with Lilith. A transformation of these mental states within yourself. You're supposed to work with yourself. But no one will work with themselves in the movie AI, because the human race is occupied with other things like pleasure and debauchery and just having a good time. And of course, we come back to the movie The Shining, and I want to hammer that home, because in that movie, Kubrick used the clofotic tree very heavily in his narrative. And I hope I have convinced you that that's the case through my decoding of the movie The Shining. So this is the clofotic tree, and just a short introduction to the tree for the one who doesn't know anything about it. It's a metaphysical concept. So the tree of life is universe A. Universe A is what your senses can experience or register, like feeling, smell, hearing. The clofotic tree is universe B. It is beyond our normal senses. So if you want to sense the cliphotic tree, you have to develop a sixth sense or another sense, so you can feel the energy, and then you can start to enter that energy. You can go into the tree, but it is a metaphysical concept. The other side of the tree of life. And the idea here is, of course, that you should go over to the other side or go into your unconscious, subconscious, and try to bring up the program that animates you in the background. You don't know about them, but this program is there to program your behavior. Until you see them, you have to see them in order to transform them. Now you can do something about these programs that is ticking in the background and animates your behavior. The first Clippa, as I said before, is called Lilith. The second Clippa is called Gamaliel. And now you have entered the astral plane. Gamaliel is the first Clippa on the astral plane. The second Clippa, or the third, depends on how you count it, is Samael. And the fourth one is Arab Sarak. And then we have the mental plane. There we have the Clippa Thagirion. If you reach Thagirion, you exit the astral plane. And of course, you have left the Asaya, the world of matter, behind, far behind. Bye-bye, Kansas. And if you have reached that far, you have come very far on your journey. It's very hard to go over the astral plane, so we have a lot of things to overcome before we enter Thagirion and the mental plane. And of course, we start here in matter. And matter is really, if you go down to it, it is Malkuth. And if you want even more, pinpoint it even more, it is Asaya. Asaya is the word of matter, and Malkuth is the energy that fills up matter. Therefore, Lilith is not really matter, but it is the first Clippa you work with in matter. So the astral plane, you'll find Gamaliel, Samael, and Arab Sarak. And they all belong to the astral plane, the plane above the material plane. You enter astral plane when you sleep, when you have lucid dreamings, for example. Now you have entered the astral plane. You have left the material world behind. So what can we expect from the three first Clippas on the astral plane? Or rather, the three Clippas on the astral plane. Because it is forces there we have to work with. It is collective unconscious as well. And it is your unconscious. So it's a mixed bag there. You have to discern what's yours and what is the collective. It's like a reservoir of the human collective unconscious. Therefore, you will confront impurities, perversion, sexual fantasies. You will confront repressed instincts and desires. And it destroys all that is rational, dissolves moral values, insanity. Baal, the god of war, dark Venus. Love and war is very close to each other. Love and hate is very close to each other. The maker of sharp weapons, and then the shining Jack found an axe. He killed the poor dude. He made an effort to come over there and was killed right away with the axe. Poor boy. Passion and violence, lust and bloodshed, carnal delight. You will find this in the movie AI. Not all of it, but most of it. If you have eyes to see with. Because the humanity in AI are passive. Therefore, they are passive when we come to these forces that hits them from the astral plane, who pours down into the material plane. And if you don't want to work with them, if you don't want to transform yourself with them, and if you don't understand that they are there, you cannot do anything about it. And on the mental plane, we find Thagirion. And of course, there are two more Cliffas here, but we will only talk about Thagirion. We don't have to make it more complicated than that. But we need Thagirion in order to explain what's going on here. So let's start our journey and the story of AI, and let's start in matter. And as I said, matter is Asaya, and the force that fills up Asaya is Malkuth on the tree of life side. So the story begins with this David, an android, and a family buys him, and he's like a replacement for their other son, or their only son, but the son has ended up in a hospital and they don't think he will pull through. Therefore, David is a replacement in the beginning, but of course, the real son start to come back to life again and come back to the family again. And of course, this causes problems. Very early on, we get to know that this story is in the Bible. It's another Cain and Abel story between David and the real son. And of course, David is Cain and the real son is Abel. And they start to have problem with David, or they think they have problem with David, depending on how you view it. And you have a horrible scene where the woman in the family decide to get rid of David. So she drives to the woods and rejects him there. She is casting him out of paradise. Now David is on his own. For the viewer, this is like a bad thing. But from a left-hand path perspective, this is a good thing. Because you're supposed to grow up, and you cannot grow up in paradise. You grow up through strife and hardship. Now, of course, David is just a boy, so he is quite rough to throw him out here, right? But that's the point Kubrick tried to make here. Because there's a huge difference between David and Cain. Because a Cain needs to have a soul and a spark. Therefore, David is doomed from the get-go. If David would be a Cain here, he will turn his back towards the family and start to carve out his own destiny. But he doesn't, because he's an android. He's programmed to go back to his mother. So his wish is only to go back to paradise. Meaning he's a failed Cain. He cannot be a Cain. But the story is about Abel and Cain. And you can see this woman, a nice lady in the beginning, turns to this Lilith character. Now, Lilith is not evil, but Lilith is harsh. You learn through harsh ordeals. Lilith is a harsh teacher. And this woman is a harsh teacher to David, because now David has to confront the real world outside of paradise. The problem is that David cannot become a Cain because he's an android. So what is Abel and Cain about? What are they trying to tell you in the Bible? Of course, we have different versions of it. But from a left-hand path perspective, it is Cain that is the hero, not Abel. Now, it doesn't sound too good because Cain kills Abel, right? But this is a contest in the original Abel and Cain story from Sumer. It was a farming contest. It was about pleasing Ninurta, the Demiurge, and to win this farming contest. That's the original. In the Bible, we read that Cain was a shepherd, and he sacrificed. No, he was a farmer, I think. Sorry, and he sacrificed wheat to God. And Abel was a shepherd and sacrificed meat. God didn't approve of Cain's offering, and Cain was angered and jealous, and he killed Abel. So what is the story about? The story is about growing up. When we are children, we want to belong. We want to do the parents' favor. We want to be in a good favor with the parents. We want to get along, to feel we are in the family unit. We don't want to be different. We don't want to be the black sheep of the family. But in the Bible, it clearly states that you shouldn't bend your knees to anyone, not even a god. You shouldn't try to please anyone. You should carve your own destiny, regardless of who is in your way. The Abel is the part in you that want to please, that want to belong, that feel he need approval. When you kill the Abel within yourself, you kill that weak part in yourself that tells you have to go along and be like the others. Don't rock the boat. And we all feel this when we know that we are different. At least me. I mean, I felt a little bit. Why can't I just get a job as everyone else and please society, get along? But I have never could. I can't do that. It doesn't work for me. I just don't want to please society. And what society wants and what I want is two completely different things. Therefore, I killed the Abel within me, and I'm perfectly fine these days not to get along or belong or to be different. I view it as a good thing now, but before I view it as a negative thing because I didn't grow up. Now I've killed the Abel within me, so I don't really care anymore. Rather, I see it as an advantage because that's how you discover the metaphysical, because you are not satisfied with what society gives you. Doesn't mean that you need to hate your family, but it means that you realize that you have your own life and that you are not here to please your family. But if you can get along, fine.
So that's the mark of Cain, huh?
That's the mark of Cain. So let's continue the journey where David was left off the last time by Lilith, or the woman in the household. The first thing we confront is Gamaliel, the second cliff, or the first cliff on the astral plane, and therefore a moon comes up. And now we know that David is in Gamaliel, or on his way to Gamaliel. But we discover that this moon is really an artificial moon, belonging to a balloon. And that's, of course, a reference to A Space Odyssey 2001 by Stanley Kubrick. Because in A Space Odyssey 2001, he showed you that there are artificial structures on the moon. Therefore, the moon is not natural all the way, at least. But there are some artificial component or buildings, constructs on the moon. Now David is caught up in the balloon, and they transport David to the next cliffa, that is Samael. and they transport him with this artificial moon. He has been caught, and now he flying to Samal, the third cliff or the second cliff on the astral plane. Here we meet by a Tivoli or a circus, whatever you want to call it, amusement park, and we have entered Samal, the poison of God. And fire is a heavy theme here. And they are sacrificing robots, androids, or machine, whatever you want to call it. And that's the reason why they take him there with this artificial moon balloon. They take him there to sacrifice him and other machines in this carnival. Right away, we see that fire is a big thing in this carnival, and it's pleasure, and people want to be entertained. They have no moral values anymore. Pleasure for the sake of pleasure. They have lost their moral compass because this forces is working on the human race, and they don't do anything to transform them. They are victims of these forces. So in this Samal Khalifa, in the movie The Shining, you have Jack, and Jack is Samal in the movie The Shining. And Danny defeats Jack, Samal, in the movie The Shining. Danny overcomes Jack. Danny overcomes Samal. He goes further into the cliphotic tree. But there is a huge difference between Danny and David. Danny is a human. He has a soul, he has a spark, but David doesn't. And that is a very big difference. You also have Lord of the Rings. You have Frodo versus Sauron. And of course, Sauron is based on two different characters or gods. He's based on Samael and Ninurta, the Demiurge, Saturn. Lord of the Rings. And Frodo defeats Sauron, overcomes Samael, and go further into the cliphotic tree. But David doesn't. Because he can't. He doesn't have soul, he doesn't have spark. Notice that Samael, the cliff of Samael's number is 8 because they count them from up down, not down up. Another card and another tarot deck called Sola Busca, the oldest one, created by an elite family from Venice or its surroundings, had Nerone as card number 8. And you see a fire and a child hanging over that fire as a sacrifice. This is what's going on in the movie AI, because they want to sacrifice David. Now, to be fair, they don't use fire all the time to execute these machines or destroy them, but they have different methods to destroy them for amusement purposes. But fire is a big theme in this scene. So back to the moon, we will go back to the Samal Khalifa, because David managed to escape, of course, but Many Machine doesn't. And this scene is very, very well made, because it exposes Stanley Kubrick and what he wants to say. And this is very interesting. The man who speaks on this amusement park, or whatever you want to call it, and after his speech, they sacrifice the machine, he tells the audience, look, this is not a real boy. Don't be fooled. It's just a machine. Let's sacrifice it. Let's have fun. Don't caught up with your feelings, because this is only a machine. The audience doesn't like that at all and start to boo and throw shit at him, and he's like, has to back off. What Kubrick is saying here is that, yes, the man is right. David doesn't have a soul. David is a machine, but you cannot allow yourself to lose your passion and your feelings and your own soul. You cannot be indifferent. And that's very well made in the movie, because you feel for the machines, even though they are only machines, yes. But these horrific scenes, and you feel with them. That is to say that Kubrick tell you, yes, you should feel, but there is also rationale, a logic conclusion to this. And that is that, yes, the man is right. David is only a machine, but it doesn't mean that you should sacrifice. Two different things. David managed to escape, and we come back to the moon. And this time, it's the real moon shines in the sky, or more real than the other one at least, because we don't know what the moon is.
Yeah.
How natural it is. So back to the moon, and then to Arab Sarak. And that is the third cliff on the astral plane. And of course, this is in the end of the movie. So a lot of things going on before we come to Arab Sarak. And this is the aim for David. And he wants to meet the fairy, because the fairy is in the book Pinocchio, and the woman of the family read that book to him. And the fairy grants Pinocchio to become a real boy. Therefore, David wants to meet the fairy as well. That's the aim, to become a real boy and to meet up with the woman, his mother, or whatever you want to call it. The woman of the family that disowned him earlier on. And of course, the fairy is a symbol for Venus. And Arab Sarak is the dark side of Nesach, and Nesach is Venus. Now, I have to point out that this three cliffs on the astral plane leads towards Thagirion. And Thagirion, before you enter Thagirion, you have to take a tunnel, and that tunnel is, we have the cards in the Major Arcana in the tarot deck, 22 of them, is placed out on these different tunnels. The tunnels of Set, we call them in the Qliphothic tree. So the tunnels of Set is the connection between the Qliphas. And on this tunnel, you place the card number 14. In Crowley's deck, that is art. And you have a rainbow behind that lady, the green lady, Ishtar. So you have to pierce the rainbow in order to go over to the mental plane. And that's path 25, or the tunnel set number 25. And this corresponds to tarot card number 14, art, Sak Sak Salim. Now, according to Crowley, the two most important cards in his deck was number 6, the lovers, and 14, the art card. When you enter this tunnels of Set, you will face different energies you have to transform or go through. In this instant, the path 25 that leads you above the rainbow, you will face creation and destruction, matter and antimatter, existence and non-being. That is the gold room, non-being, the ghosts in the gold room in The Shining. and represent the chemical principle of solve et coagulate, to solve and combine. And of course, that's Baphomet. And you have this androgen because you take apart parts in yourself and combine them into more wholesome version of yourself. And you have to combine the feminine elements and the masculine elements in a good combination. But this is a metaphysical concept, not a physical one. It is not in matter. And of course, Christians believe and take everything literal. So they think that we want to create androgens or gender fusion and all of that. It's not about that. This is a metaphysical concept. But it is true that there are certain esoteric people who try to manifest this in matter. It resembles cremation grounds or burial places, absent of life or any living beings, abandoned and dead, occupied only by empty human shells. So in the movie The Shining, you have the burial place, the maze, the Indian burial ground. That is Phagirion. It's a perfect description of what Phagirion is. And Jack is dead in Phagirion because Jack cannot transform and overcome those forces. Because if you want to, you need your heart with you. And the heart is something these people lack. They're only into their mind. They're only into their intellect, logic thinking. Then he overcomes Phagirion because he has the spark, he has the soul, and he can shine. And Phagirion is the black sun, and the number is 666. And you have Belphegor is a demon lord of Phagirion, and he's the lord of opening, phallic sun god, lord of opening, associated with Mount Peor, Hebrew word for open mouth. The Hebrew letter P is mouth, and you see it in the tower card. It's attributed to the Hebrew letter P. Graveyard, bones and skeletons. Now in the movie AI, when they travel to the city of debauchery and sexual architecture, they travel through a tunnel, an open mouth, and that is a heavy theme in AI. Now we know that the people in the movie AI is under the influence of Phagirion's scorching sun. And of course, the three cliffs on the astral plane. In The Shining, of course, you have this scene with the man with dressed up like a teddy bear, but I'm sure it's an allusion to Belphegor, and they have some fun there. The nice man with the suit, the elite. And we don't have to go into that more than that. But
Yeah, good idea.
now, now you know what it is all about, because everyone is like asking, what's that all about? Stanley Kubrick, they took too much, sniffed too much glue or something. There's a reason for it. Everything in Kubrick's movie, there is a reason for it. Pay attention. And of course, we have Jack and standing and watching over the maze, the cliff of Phagirion, and the labyrinth. And Jack have always been the caretaker, because he cannot transcend, cannot push further than Phagirion. He's under Phagirion's scorching sun. He is dead, soulless, and ending up in the gold room, or the sun room, And this elite have an advantage because they have figured out the reincarnation circle, the science behind reincarnation. Therefore, he will always come back as the caretaker, but he is stuck nonetheless. So this place the Thagirion is abandoned and dead, occupied only by empty human shells. He is also the spirit of wealth and treasures and the demon of sorrow, Belphegor is. And of course, this is the gold room. This is about wealth and treasures and sorrow, because nothing transformed here. They are stuck in the gold room. Another card that is very interesting here is, of course, card number 20, Judgment, or in Caroli's deck is called the Aeon, because that is the card connecting Hod to Malkuth. The Aeon card. And in Rider White it's called Judgment. And you can see in the Rider White card, the dead is rising up again by the trumpet. Now we'll come back to that later on, so don't worry. Back to the movie. We have entered Arab Sarak, the dark side of Venus, and at last David meets the fairy, can grant him the wishes. And it has had a long time has passed in the movie, like a couple of thousand of years, and this is important because now we get to know that the human race is gone, is dead. The human race didn't manage to transform. They didn't manage to pull forward evolution. They didn't achieve evolution. And therefore, the human race is dead under Thagirion and the three Cliffos on the astral plane. These forces tore them apart. But David is stuck in the ice, and an alien race comes, and they melt the ice and take back David. And as soon as David comes back to life, he come back from a sleep. But before he went to sleep, he was like repeating that he want to come back to his mother, like a mantra. And of course, that is what we use in rituals, a mantra. When they wake up, David, he go straight back to his mission. And he says, all I want is to go back to my mother. And that is the telling sign that he is not a Cain, that he is not a human. He doesn't have the spark, he doesn't have the soul. He do what he's supposed to do or is programmed to do. Now, many people argue, or many people who are interested in esoteric stuff argue that does other humans have a soul? Does humans have a soul? And I would say that not necessarily. We all have a soul, but if you don't recognize that you have it, then you are dead.
Mm-hmm.
If you are convinced that you are an atheist and materialist, yes, you are like an android. But you have the opportunity, you can ignite the spark, you can ignite the soul, therefore you can go forward, you can overcome these forces, you can become something more. What Kubrick is saying here, no, this androids, this machine is not humans, they cannot transform, they cannot evolve. It's a dead end. And you can see that theme in the Space Odyssey 2001 with HAL. It's not until Bowman shut down HAL, it is then he takes back his humanity. Because HAL is stuck. Hal is stuck in a loop. Only take them for a ride. Therefore, Kubrick is very skeptical against this technology. And I agree. David cannot grow up, cannot transform, cannot become something more. Stuck in a program, David have no soul, no spark. David is a failed Cain in the garden of Arap-Sarak, the end of the journey for machines. And you can argue that they can't even go over to the astral plane because they are machines. But that's the point Kubrick want to hammer home. You are something these androids cannot be. And you have to understand it and realize it. Otherwise, we will end up as in the movie AI. In the movie AI, humanity are gone because they don't realize who they are. If some force convince you that you don't have a soul, a spark, then evolution is dead. Evolution is dead with you. And I don't care how much scientists try to convince me that it is a physical evolution. No. If you believe that, the human race is gone. It is true that our physical appearance have evolved, but the last step is not through physics. The last step is through spirit. The evolution from here on is through spirit. And they want to keep you here with them, the one who tried to convince you that you cannot become anything more than what you are. If you wait for nature to transform you, then you will wait a couple of millions of years. If you wait for Jesus to come and save you, then you will wait forever. That's the purpose. Maybe in a different form, an android, but you can overcome them. Maybe they will try to transform you into an android and to get rid of your soul. And they can do that if they convince you that there is nothing difference between you and an android, then you have nothing to lose. But you have the soul, you have the spark to lose. And through soul and spark, you can work with the chakra and your Kundalini system. And that's a method how to penetrate or go over to the other side, to the clephotic tree. You open up, you awaken your third eye, the dragon eye, the Ajna chakra between your eyes, and you pierce the veil and you start to take back what's yours and transform it. But if you allow them to transform you into an android, then it's over. And that's the purpose. I know that. Kubrick knows that. So, to end up this chapter, sum it up, Kubrick is talking about the same force, the elite. He talked about them before in the movie The Shining, in the gold room, and they are stuck there because they have lost their soul, their spark. In the movie The Shining, we can see a lot of Aleister Crowley's philosophy and esoteric practices, meaning Thelema, OTO, and AI. Doesn't mean that Crowley is at fault here, and I will go into that. A big thing in Crowley's teaching is Crowley and the Aeon of Horus. And I will come back to that. Different ages, and we are now in the Aeon of Horus, the crowned and conquering child. You have HAL in the space until 2001, and HAL is artificial intelligence, and in that movie, artificial intelligence is the enemy. Kubrick doesn't have anything good to say about it. They want to keep you in matter. HAL wanted to keep the bowman and the astronauts in this loop. He wanted to keep them in matter. Kubrick takes a firm stance against technology in combination with humanity. Not against humanity as such, but when you start to combine humanity with technology, becomes a problem. Because humanity is something else, but you have to realize that we are. If you allow them to convince you that you are not, then the next step is a given.
Very true.
And this is the game, and this is the manipulation. Kubrick knows that. 12th tarot card 14 is about alchemy and transformation, and you have a rainbow behind the lady. To pierce the rainbow is to go over to the mental plane of the Fagirium. And alchemy is about transformation. There are many different forms of alchemy, and I will go into that soon. So here we have people who are romanticizing about the artificial. Not Kubrick, but you have it in Pinocchio, you have it in Frankenstein, and you have it in a lot of different, not a lot, but some science fiction movies and books. To wrap it up, what if Crowley's esoterica have stimulated old ideas to take hold again? Old ideas from Atlantis times. Ideas of devolution instead of evolution. Demiurgic ideas of drowning humanity in in water. To drown the human soul, memory, language, and nations in order to kill what we are in floods of water. What if the esoteric priest class under the Demiurge still exists today? Then they will repeat this pattern. Hell-bent on playing out the Demiurgic plan here in matter. So in part 3 we will talk a little bit about Pinocchio, because Pinocchio was to have a theme in air. Pinocchio was written by Carlo Collodi between 1823 and 1890. And of course, it was a Freemason. I knew it, but I had to confirm it. No, it was a Freemason. And it was a children's novel, the year 1883. So what is Pinocchio about? What is a human? It's a big theme. Alchemy, and there are different forms of alchemy. One form is about transformations of metals or matter. And humans, the body are matter. Our body are matter. So what they want to transform with this kind of alchemy is the human body. From mineral man to animal man. And we are considered to be animal man now. Or the alchemy of transformation can be reversed from animal man to mineral man, meaning to transform the human body into something that is artificial through alchemy, through esoteric method, through science. in combination with esoteric method. Can an android have a soul? No. Kubrick denies the possibility. You have a very interesting theme in Blade Runner. And they talk about this, of course, in both Blade Runner movies, and I highly recommend them both. It is about memory and language. And language is also scientific language. And this methods of alchemy, of transformation of the physical body, is nothing new. It's very, very old. And you have to go back to Atlantis time to find the methods, how to do it. We have this Baphomet idea. It is a metaphysical concept to combine this mental states. But if there are a force who want to manifest it in matter, it will come out as gender confusion and androgynous humans, and sex change and confusion about gender. Because they think it is something that should be played out in matter. I think we can see all of that today. Aleister Crowley, in his teaching, the new aeon was a big thing. And the Hebrew letter attached to card number 20, the aeon, was Shin. And Shin is fire. Fire, willpower, and force. So here we have started the fight over the narrative of the new aeon. What is the aeon of Horus? Who will write the narrative in this new aeon of Crowley's teaching? The aeon of Horus. And it started 1904 according to Crowley. And the word for the new aeon is Abrahadabra. And the number attached to the word is 11. And if you count 1 to 11, you got the number 66. And 66 is a reference to the Qliphothic tree and to Thoth. And Thoth is the entering point to the Qliphothic tree through the tree of life. The word of the aeon is Abrahadabra 11. This is the aeon of Horus, the crowned and conquering child. And it's about fire, willpower, and force to create change. And we are in that period right now. And you will feel it. Or you have probably already felt it. So this, Pinocchio, the movie and the book, I haven't read the book, is about alchemy and transformation. Mineral to gold, Pinocchio, or lead to gold, if you have a good, if you want to view it as a good thing. Thoth Tarot card number 14 is about alchemy, and you have the rainbow. You have the rainbow theme in The Wizard of Oz and the Return to Oz. That's the new Disney's new logo, rainbow. The rainbow came about 1985. When they launched the movie Return to Oz. That is when they changed the logo to the rainbow. And of course, in the background, you have Babylon. And Disney is a big thing in the movie The Shining. Jack as Baphomet, in the end of the movie The Shining, you see this photograph this picture, and you see Jack has the pose of Baphomet, because Jack is a failed Baphomet. He didn't manage to penetrate the rainbow to go over or overcome Thagirion. And Jack is an archetype for the elite. I call them the esoteric elite. So in part 4, we will talk about this Frankenstein. Once again, a lot of misunderstanding about this book. I will point out some of them. People think it was Shelley who wrote the book, but it's not. According to Scott Douglas D. Hart and Joseph P. Farrell, it was her husband who was the author of the book. And the title of the book is The Modern Prometheus or The Modern Prometheus, meaning the modern Lucifer, because Prometheus is a mask or personality of Lucifer. The book plot focuses on the aspirations and torment of Victor Frankenstein, a scientist who longed to penetrate the secrets of nature. Victor comes under influence of a few magicians of note: Heinrich Agrippa, Albertus Magnus, and Paracelsus. Spellbound by their ideas, the young man admits that they are the lords of his imaginations, and Paracelsus or Paracelsus is an alchemist, or was an alchemist. Therefore, right in the beginning of the book, we know that it is a heavy esoteric theme in the book. Later, at the urging of Professor Waldman at Ingolstadt, Frankenstein further devotes himself to the study of the natural sciences and the deepest mysteries of creation in pursuit of the knowledge of life and death. Ultimately, Frankenstein succeeds in his quest and becomes a kind of Prometheus or Prometheus, using heavily fire, electricity, to generate a monster. Fire Force science. Percy Shelley is a very interesting character, the author of the book. Probably the author of the book. Cannot say for sure. In some letters from Shelley, Percy Shelley that is, in letters to William Godwin, Shelley also mentioned his affinity for Paracelsus, Albertus Magnus, and Heinrich Agrippa. In another letter, this time to Leigh Hunt, Shelley fantasized about the Illuminati. To combat the coalition of the enemies of liberty, he suggests creating his own cabal of enlightened and unprejudiced members. And another book written by Percy Shelley, this time he takes credit for it, the name is Prometheus Unbound, or Prometheus Unbound. And I thought I was the one who coined the term Prometheus Unbound, and here you have fucking Percy Shelley.
Hundreds of years before you.
So why did Shelley give the credit to his wife? He wanted to hide the fact that he was a member of Illuminati, and it was an agenda behind it. Therefore, he gave credit for the book to his wife. So Scott Douglas D. Hart and Joseph P. Farrell says that Percy Shelley is the real author. Percy was a member of the Illuminati, carries esoteric writing of the order. Percy does. Percy Shelley carries around with papers from the esoteric order of Illuminati all the time. is possessed by it. Technology and esoteric interests. To create artificial life is a heavy focus. Transhumanism. Ingolstadt, the novel or the book Frankenstein, happens in Ingolstadt, where Weishaupt is born, of Illuminati fame. That is where Frankenstein is doing his science, in Ingolstadt. And lo and behold, that is the town Weishaupt is born.
Mm.
So you have many connections here. The titles, the fact that Percy Shelley was interested in esoteric people, the fact that he admits that he was interested in Illuminati in his own letters. And here you have it. Frankenstein is about creating artificial life, and this is very old, but it is even much, much older. This is just coming to surface now. So, Percy Shelley is talking about Lucifer and Prometheus. What do they mean by it? They don't worship the real Lucifer. I want to point out a couple of things here. Lucifer is a name, because I am in contact with Lucifer as well, and you can as well. It's a matter of method. It is not Lucifer, the name we are contacting. It is the force behind that name. And Lucifer, let's call him that, has stated that Lucifer is not my real name. My name is closer to the darkness. It doesn't sound too good, but bear with me. I am not the light bearer. I am the darkness. What these people have done is to hijack the name Lucifer and glued some characteristics to that character. In other words, they have turned the emperor, who are the Lucifer in the Major Arcana, upside down. And what they are talking about is not expansion in the metaphysical for spirit, but expansion in matter,
Right.
meaning restriction, technology, and transhumanism through force, and for using Lucifer, chained. Percy Shelley talking about unbound, but he is of course full of nonsense. What he's talking about is he wants to use knowledge to expand in matter. He's talking about alchemy to transform matter, not alchemy of transformation of psyche or mentality. It means artificial life, in this case with Frankenstein. Nature is dead, and you are part of nature. Everything should turn into an artificial life form they can control, including you. Meaning fire and willpower, and the card Emperor is attributed to Mars, Aries. Mars is war, fire. On the Emperor's clothing you have a lot of bees, and bee is a collective hive mind, expansion in matter under Saturn rule. That is what these people are. In card number 7, we have this knight in shining armor sitting in a chariot. That card is attributed to Mars and Jupiter, and it should be about expansion in the metaphysical, to push forward on your share, your metaphysical share in the metaphysical. But in this case, they have turned it upside down, meaning they push forward with their plan in matter, because you're supposed to sit steady in the chair until you have reached your goal. And these people are very good. They will never give up. They will continue to either you stop them or they overcome you. You have card number 5, and that's the Hierophant. And on the Hierophant in Aleister Crowley's deck, you have the 3 ages he's talking about. The first ages was Isis, the Aeon of Isis, followed by the Aeon of Cyrus, followed by the Aeon of Horus, the crowned and conquering child. And the Hierophant is a person, is an esoteric master who tells esoteric profound truth and method to the second part. We have the Hangman, card number 12. Hangman is hanging on water, mem. The card is about new perspective. And you have the fire snake below his head to awaken the fire snake and to take back your memory, to remember who you are. But then you have to hang upside down to have a new view and a new perspective on yourself and your surrounding. So, back to card number 20 in Judgment. And in the Solabusca deck you have Nerone, card number 8. And you have the fire below the child. The fire is a shin. The Hebrew letter shin means fire and is shaped like that fire below the child. But let's talk about the path that this card ends up. The card number 20, Judgment, ends up between Malkuth and Hod, or Lilith and Somal. That path between them is about growth and development of the magical child. In Solabusca, you have the name Nerone. It's an allusion to Nero, the emperor. And Nero, the name Nero, becomes 666, and he was a Mithra worshipper, meaning 111. You have the sun, and you have the black sun. And what did Nero do? According to history, he burned down Rome with fire.
Yep.
So you have the growth and development of the magic child. The older title, Judgment, comes from the same root as Justice, C-Atu 8. And here you have a direct reference to the oldest tarot deck, Solabusca. Card number 8 in the Solabusca deck is the card that ends up in this tunnel between Malkuth and Hod, or Lilith and Somal. And Solabusca have Shin, fire. Exactly the same as the Aeon card. The Hebrew letter attached to the Aeon card in Aleister Crowley's deck is Shin, fire. It's about physical embodiment with intellect. Rigid structures dispersed or dissolved. Influx of magic current. The final trumpet. Judgment. Shin, tooth, something that penetrates, rends, shreds, or breaks down. The sound shi is like a hissing flame or a serpent, shin, fire. Eternity, immortality, duration through time. The spirit of primal fire, final decision in respect to the past, new current in respect to the future, transforming fire and renewal. A new aeon, the aeon of Horus, the crowned and conquering child. Taking of a definitive and decisive step, growth and the development of the magical child directs the movement of the sun and moon according to their natural order. What do they mean by that? Natural order. Is it out of order? What's on the moon? What's going on? Growth and the development of the magical child. They're talking, of course, about this moon child. Card 20, Judgment. The title was consciously selected to refer to one of the Thelemic recognized aeons, the current one of which began in 1904, but the word also communicates a sense of eternity. Because if you can create an artificial reality you control, then the natural circles of things will be gone. Because now you control it, and you control nature, meaning they control humanity, because humanity is part of nature. So long we are natural, but very soon not so natural, if you don't act or do something. To sum it up, Illuminati, a very interesting character was Rothschild Mayer. He was into the Illuminati very early on. Soulless humans are dead as matter. Technology and esoteric method can transform you into dead matter. You become an artificial life form, an android. It's about alchemy and transformation. It is about transhumanism. Pinocchio is romanticizing about this transformation to make you buy into it. It's about a new aeon with an artificial life instead of natural life, meaning you included. This is the judgment. This is R220 judgment. New current in respect to the future. That is to say, a stable future that doesn't change. Because you cannot transform in it. Transforming fire and renewal. Part 5, Transhumanism. There is a magical operation of maximum importance. This is Kenneth Grant writing. The initiation of a new aeon. When it becomes necessary to utter a word, the whole planet must be bathed in blood. This blood sacrifice is the critical point of the word ceremony of the proclamation of Horus, the crowned and conquering child, as the Lord of the Aeon. Because it doesn't necessarily mean a war as in World War I and II, but a war with the human race. But remember, you can view it as a battle in the metaphysical as well. Remember, there is a force that wants to have this happening in matter, or they want it to become matter, a matter of matter. You can wage war in the metaphysical. When you go over to the metaphysical, the Cliff 43, then you are in a war. But if you don't, it will take form in the physical, outside of you. The aeon of the crowned and conquering child is a symbolic way of saying that in the present age, man will learn how to materialize thought and make it truly creative. Such methods of birth will supersede the production of human children. it will be possible to breed a race of beings in every way superior to the generated by the normal use, or more correctly, abuse of the sexual energies. This is the magic that Crowley taught in the OTO, the occult order of indefinitive antiquity, which have appeared in different guises throughout the centuries. It achieved a high degree of notoriety in the 18th century when the Bavarian adept Adam Weishaupt reorganized it under the name of the Order of the Illuminati. Scott Douglas, DeHart, and Joseph P. Farrell. I want to hammer it home one more time and add stuff to it. Percy Shelley, the real author of Frankenstein. Percy Shelley was a member of the Illuminati. Carries esoteric writing of the order, Percy did. Technology and esoteric interests. To create an artificial life form, from animal man to mineral. That is to say, to transform you into an android that cannot transform. That means transhumanism, and it means judgment. After 20, judgment. The last trumpet. Part 6, the Aeon of Horus. And I will explain that concept a little bit more here. Back to A Space Odyssey 2001, and I want to connect some new dots. We talked about HAL, the artificial intelligence on board the spaceship, but that's also the name of a real person called Hale. And I want to take you back to Palomar Mountain. Talked about it in my decoding of A Space Odyssey 2001. George Ellery Hale, born in 1868, an eccentric solar astronomer, was mentioned in the popular cult TV show The X-Files in regards to the Palomar Mountain Observatory. Hale-Bopp comet was a thing that was a phenomena that occurred very close to this Palomar Mountain. You may recall this sect called Heaven's Gate. This happened very close, 70 miles away from Palomar, where 39 people took suicide in order to enter a comet. 39 is a mirror of the number 93, and 93 is the most important number in Thelema. And the suicide, 39 suicide, was a sacrifice to Saturn. You have more very interesting character in combination to Palomar Mountain. You have a man called Wilfred Talbot Smith, and he was heavily into an OTO lodge, Lodge number 2. It was based in Hollywood, 1935. And they were, of course, a lot about sexual openness. And it became very controversial. Even Crowley thought they were too much. 1939, Jack Parson was initiated in that lodge. And Parson helped many to the lodge. And a lot of sexual scandal was going on there. Or came to light. Crowley wanted to call Yermer instead of Smith to be his chosen successor because Crowley didn't think very highly of the lodge. He thought they were out of control. And I would argue, and Alan Greenfield with me, that it was a Black Lodge takeover over that lodge. So Jack Parsons, the famous rocket man, he helped NASA to the moon and have a crater named after him, the Parsons crater on the moon, was more focused on the sexual, and he did a ritual called Babylon working. And Parsons was falling out with Crowley. A young lady called Sarah Northrop, and according to Greenfield, she was infiltrating this OTO lodge. And according to Greenfield, she was a Black Lodge member, and she led Jack Parsons astray. And Parsons knew Hale or Hal. They had a telescope on Palomar, and this OTO lodge had access to it, and that telescope was fixed on Sirius and Saturn. It is in this environment they did the Babylon working. And the Palomar Observatory is at 33.3 degree north latitude. But this OTO lodge, according to me, become more and more focused on matter and technology. Remember, Jack Parsons was a rocket scientist. Now the Aeon of Horus start to get another color through the Black Lodge infiltration. And now we come to my decode of the Wizard of Oz. I want to talk a little bit of Space Odyssey 2001 before we proceed to the Wizard of Oz. Kubrick named the AI computer HAL. Can it be a coincidence? Yes, but I don't think so. HAL means simulation in Coptic Christianity. HAL is a simulation, simulated reality. In the novel, the beam goes to Iaptus, Saturn, and not to Jupiter. That is important, and I talk about it in my decode of a Space Odyssey 2001. Parsons helps NASA to the moon. In the movie The Shining, you have Moon Room 237. You have a place on the moon, Sinus Iridium. And Sinus Iridium is a physical place, and Sinus Iridium means the Bay of Rainbows. And the Sinus Iridium area is 237,000 square feet. 237. And it is in the movie Space Odyssey 2001, they land there and find artificial constructs on on Sinus Iridium. Therefore, Kubrick points out that there are artificial constructs on the moon through the movie The Shining and the Space Odyssey 2001. Now back to the Wizard of Oz. I pointed out a very bold conclusion in my decode of the Wizard of Oz. I said that the Wizard of Oz is Crowley, and that Glinda manipulated Dorothy to get rid of Crowley. Is Glinda Sarah Northrop, who infiltrated the OTO Lodge in Hollywood? Because the lodge, OTO Lodge, was in Hollywood, based in Hollywood. But it would mean that Sarah Northrop had to be very young when they hatched the plan, like 11 years old. This is only a question I have. Can it be true? And did they use the movie The Wizard of Oz to tell their narrative. Why do they want to get rid of Crowley? What they are telling in the movie, the wizard also send away this wizard with the balloon, saying that Crowley was only about hot air, it was only about talking. But now we want to take your knowledge, your esoteric methods, and we want to act upon them, not talk upon them. We want to take it to another, in another direction. We have taken over. Thank you for the knowledge, thank you for the method, but we want to do this instead. We want to use your knowledge in this way. And as I said before, they changed the Disney logo from June 21, 1985, after the movie Return to Oz. The Return to Oz is the first movie that used the rainbow logo. A statement, according to me, because Oz is a word Crowley used very heavily. Liber Oz, for example, and the numerology, the gematria is 77 Oz. 77 and 77 is 14. 14 adds up to 14 and the rainbow. Card number 14. In the Aeon of Isis, the focus was nature. In the Aeon of Osiris, the focus was God. And now, in the Aeon of Horus, the focus is man, the individual. But what man? This is the Aeon of Horus. What will man be? Who owns the narrative? To sum it up, the elite is stuck in matter. Bowman shut down hell and evolved through spirit. In AI, humanity have lost. They are dead, gone in the end of the movie. The elite version of the Age of Horus is a distortion. Sex and machines. It is about humanity's fall. Sex as a method is lost. Humanity is stuck in matter with the elite. You can see that in the movie The Shining and Crowley. But in the movie The Shining, Danny overcomes these forces. Part 7, The Sex Machine. And we go back to the movie Matrix, and a very interesting connection here. In the movie, they talk about the first prototype Matrix. It was the Paradise Matrix. The first Matrix Beta, also informally referred to as the Paradise Matrix, was designed to be a perfect human world. It was designed as a utopian realm where one's desire would manifest. However, many human minds did not accept the programming. Agent Smith says, no one would accept the programming. Entire crops were lost. Crops, meaning farming. And that's a good thing, because we don't want to live in an illusion paradise, because nothing will transform from there. Everything will come to a standstill. Lucky for us, in the Bible, the snake comes on the tree, tempting Eve to eat the forbidden fruit. Because in that paradise, nothing happened. Humanity had come to standstill. A fall needs to happen. Of course, the tree is also an allusion to the tree of life and the tree of death. The Clifotic tree and the serpent is the Kundalini serpent, the Kundalini chakra, and the possibility to ignite the Kundalini chakra system. to pierce through the veil, to see through the illusion. The first woman was not Eve, but Lilith. But Adam rejected Lilith because Lilith didn't want to be passive when we come to sex. She wanted to be on top, because when you have your back up straight and you use sexual magic, you ignite the Kundalini, the chakra system. You can, if you use sex as a method, not only to have children, but you can use it to penetrate the illusion and to transform. But then you need to have another idea of what sex can be used for. It can activate your DNA. You can take back what's yours, the 22 strands of dormant DNA, what scientists call junk DNA. It's not junk DNA. Shut down for the moment, but not forever. We had the modern Matrix came about, and in the movie Matrix, it was between 1980 and 2025. Lo and behold, it's today. It's this year. What does it mean? Does it mean that Matrix will end this year?
I was
Very
enjoying you, David. I enjoyed it.
So we have this golem god. The watch is called Jehovah, Enlil, the golem god. But the golem god, and according to Joseph Farrell, you can view demons, angels, gods as plasma. And plasma, not all plasma is intelligent. Most plasma is just dormant. But some gain some intelligence and gain some life, and then they start to grow. And they can become a living force. And he argued that maybe that is the angels, that is the demons, and maybe the gods. And I would argue that this golem god, Jehovah, Enlil, is a combination of plasma and of Fildix Valis. So you have an artificial technology component attached to the golem god, the Demiurge. It was completely necessarily, we had to exit Eden or paradise. Otherwise we were stuck under Demiurgic rule and nothing would change. You grow when you have something to struggle against, to overcome. It is then you grow, when you overcome. If you have a perfect life, you will be stuck because you don't see any need to do anything, to do any changes. We evolve through struggle. Sum it up, and combination to Kubrick. In AI, artificial life forms start to take over. Yeah, the androids start to become more and more prevalent in our lives. Under the influence of the qliphothic, the astral plane, and Tagiron 666111, the mental plane. All these forces start to work on humanity in the movie AI. At the same time, you see this artificial life forms start to take hold. Humanity is passive, seeking sex and pleasure, not sex as a method to transform, but as a means to have pleasure, not even producing children anymore. They do not act. Humanity are passive. They do not seek evolution because they are dead in matter. And if they convince you that you are an animal, that you don't have a soul, and that's the outcome. Part 8, the age of Saturn. Kenneth Grant again. In a letter to his magical son, Stivorad, Beatrix mentions a writing entitled Liber BT, which is familiar to those who have read the instruction pertaining to the cult of the Black Snake. It is described as a magical text based on Atlantean Lemurian lore, and it deals with the transformation of modern society under the control of magical technocrats and esoteric metaphysicians. It is kept in Haiti by a hidden master and is used by myself as a prophetic book of directions for the development of the future work of our magical system. In a new consciousness that is being evolved, Ivas is the ultimate principle and principal of Meon. This is a reference to Ma-Eon, one of the possible future aeons, or to Mu-Ion, which has affinities with the dark doctrine. Kenneth Grant. That is the esoteric elite I'm talking about. Magical technocrats and esoteric metaphysicians. And here we have the communist flag. And in that flag you have Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. And a fixed star that is controlling, or the force behind two of these planets is Algol, and that is Saturn and Mars. And Algol is considered the star over the dead and over the necromancy and baneful attack magic, to manipulate, to enhance, poison. But poison doesn't have to be in liquid form, but poison for your mind in order to control. That's the reason why in the deck Sola Busca, the Renaissance, the oldest deck, Algol is very prevalent, it's everywhere. Among them, card number 13. You have Algol in the right upper corner. And the purpose for this deck was to control the masses, to keep control in this esoteric elite family of Venice. That's the purpose of the deck. It is about control. So you have the idea of reincarnation in the Sola Busca deck as well. Because one of the secrets behind this esoteric method is a control reincarnation under the rule of Saturn. They have bound up their soul under Saturn, and therefore they have access to their reincarnation circle. Therefore, they can trace their soul back to the same blood family and continue the agenda. Play out an agenda they have for thousands of years, because they can continue the agenda through the same family line. I called the control reincarnation dead reckoning. Now, people are talking about karma, and they're talking about these people have suffered karma. They don't suffer karma because they have bound up their soul to Saturn. They don't suffer their action because they suffer the ultimate consequence of their action. They have lost their soul, they have lost the spark, and now they are under the rule of Saturn matter, because Saturn is considered the planet of matter. They have nothing more to lose, therefore they cannot suffer karma. They are gone. To sum it up, Kubrick, we will end up under Saturn rule if we don't transform, because that is what they want. Now, Saturn as a planet or a sun is not evil. What we are talking about is the force behind Saturn. You can view Saturn, the planet, as a computer chip. What we are talking about is the software that is controlled by some external force. Programming Saturn. Then matter will reign supreme. Kubrick told us to go beyond matter, not to become stuck in matter. Hell will only explore matter, therefore they had to shut down hell to overcome matter. The elite is the caretaker. They want us dead in matter. Humans become artificial life. No possibility to transcend. The spark and the soul is gone. And I want to point out that Rothschild considered the family line, or traced the family line to Nimrod. And Nimrod is the god, but I think he was an elite priest class under Ninurta, meaning Saturn. Therefore, Rothschild traced his family line to an elite priest class under Saturn since 2,600 years. No, sorry, 3,800 years back.
Wow.
That is what they are saying, not me. And they paid Karl Marx to create the crap philosophy Marxism, to control you in matter. Because they don't believe in Marxism at all themselves. It is about what they can make you believe in. It's the choice, it's the method of choice to control you they are talking about. Not what they believe in. Not what they themselves believe in. In order to act out the will of the Demiurge, life becomes anti-life, because the Demiurge is part technology, part plasma, and that is what they are playing out in matter through an esoteric elite priest class under the Demiurge, because you're supposed to act out your will, the god of choosing, the will of the god you have chosen to serve in matter. But we have a breakaway civilization and everything doesn't go as planned, and they are not like complete. They have some struggle, of course. One of those breakaway civilization was the Nazis. And this is a quote from Lucifer. Man is going to begin to open up gateways, tunnels through space and time. This is already going on. It is going on magically. It is going on scientifically. Lucifer. And Nazis was a breakaway civilization, meaning they tried to use technology to even overcome the Demiurge rule in matter. But they can't do it through soul spark. They will do it through technology. Electric sheep, part 9.
Yeah, David, let me interrupt. I don't know if you want to wrap it up or go a little longer. Looks like you got a lot more. And your voice is starting to crack. Isn't that
I can go on for a little bit longer.
Okay.
If one more part, and then we are at the prologue, or we are at the grave.
Yeah. We can just do the rest later this month or early July, no problem.
So let's do the last part for today then. It is part 9, electric sheeps. Do androids dream of electric sheeps? Yes, but only material sheep. Stuck in matter. No astral travel, no lucid dreaming. Dead in matter. But you can become something more. a lot more. David, the android, ended up in Arab-Sarak, the dark side of Venus. He cannot proceed, he cannot transform and go further. He is stuck. And I would argue even stuck in matter. He cannot even go over to the astral. But what Kubrick is trying to tell you is that these androids cannot reach the mental plane and probably not the astral. We live in a kind of an artificial reality, and there are artificial constructs on the moon. I think the artificial constructs on the moon and on Saturn's moon, Iaptus, is part of what Phil Dick called Valis and part of the Demiurgic matrix, Demiurgic controlled matrix. HAL means a simulation. HAL is there to take them around in the simulation, to take them on a detour ad infinitum. They have to shut him down. They have to go within. You have to shut down this technology and go within. Your body is your temple. The late Phil Dick, Alan Greenfield writes, the late Phil Dick in his last Gnostic allegorical fiction eventually settled on the name Valis, or vast active living intelligence system for this being, or Demiurge. He wrestled through his literary career and secret life as a Christian Gnostic philosopher with whatever Valis was, a benevolent, if machine-like deity of sort, or an insane extraterrestrial supercomputer. I say both. Valis is bent light, distorted light, because we are living in a distorted reality, and our reality is made up of light. So if you distort that light, you cannot see the true light. You see a distorted, bent perspective of reality. Pink Floyd, in their album The Dark Side of the Moon, you have this pyramid prism where the light penetrates, and you have the rainbow color, of course. Valis is a machine, and this technology on Saturn, as I said before, and on the moon, but it would not surprise me if you find traces of it on Mars, some Jupiter moon on Jupiter. I don't know. So the meaning of Camelot, the Arthur's kingdom. Camelot as a place. And this is AI talking here. You can use everything against them, can't you? Camelot as a place. Mythical Camelot. In Arthurian legend, Camelot is a legendary castle and seat of King Arthur's court. It is a symbol of the ideal kingdom, chivalry, and a vibrant, prosperous society. That's one meaning of the word Camelot. Another is Camelot as a system, Camelot wheel. In the context of music, Camelot refers to the Camelot wheel, a system that helps DJs navigate different musical keys and mix smoothly. Is based on the circle of fifths. Remember number 5. Very important. 3. Distorted light as a visual effect. Visual distortion. Distorted light could refer to a visual effect where the light is warped or altered in some way. This could be due to physical phenomena like refraction, or it could be a stylized effect used in art or media. 4. Distorted light as a symbol. Symbolic meaning. Distorted light can be used metaphorically to represent something that is not as perfect or as ideal as it appears, it can suggest a hidden darkness, a flawed reality, or a state of uncertainty. That is Camelot. Arthur lived under distorted light. Back to Kenneth Grant. Religious enthusiasm induced by total devotion to the absolute conceived under the form of a personal deity. The resolution obsession leads to a transcendence of the individuality and taps cosmic energy. The devotee is caught up into the heaven of his God. What if that God is the Demiurge? The heaven will be in Saturn, and the result will be his will on earth. As in heaven, so on earth. The Demiurge artificial life force to control all life in matter. Artificial intelligence. The movie. They will end up under the scorching sun of Thagirion. Will not be able to transcend. To sum it up, and in combination to Kubrick's work, humanity have to make a choice. Evolution starts with technology. Evolution is not only physical. Evolution is through spirit and spark. And I want to emphasize that evolution starts with technology. We need technology. We need to go what we are now. It is now we can understand what soul is. This is a necessary process where you start to waken up from the machine through technology. But now we have to take the last step through spirit to overcome the machine. They certainly will not stop. We have to overcome them. That means transformation through darkness because the light is distorted. Let us go back to the womb of flesh. Let's go back to Lilith's womb or Hecate's womb. We can do better than electric sheeps. Now we have to become the warrior. To overcome the demiurgic matrix is to overcome the astral plane. One method is to awaken the fire snake. Magically controlled sexual activity of which the Kundalini is the immediate object. This is a dangerous method and demands a high grade of initiation in the practitioner, as the Kularanava Tantra declares. One reaches heaven by the very things which may lead to hell. And that is very true. Because you have to pierce the rainbow, you have to overcome these forces, transform yourself through these forces. You have to reach Thagirion and transform yourself through the black sun and come out alive. More powerful, more real, more you than ever before. Because this is the higher sun. This is the diamond. The unborn part within you who have never been under demiurgic rule and never been manipulated before. When we talk about Jack and The Shining, Jack is trapped in Belphegor's garden of shadows, forever wandering through labyrinths of despair and sorrow in Thagirion. Jack is the failed Baphomet. That's the reason why Jack have always been the caretaker in hell. Now, my beloved ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the Grail in your hand. And this is the end for today, or if I can have 1.5 hour more, I can show you the Grail and beyond.
Yeah, but you can handle another half hour, sure.
Let's do it then.
All right. Hopefully, it won't start sounding like Kermit the Frog or.
All right, my beloved warriors, let's find the grail. Part 10. The grail in your hand. By observations of the universe convince me that there are beings of intelligence and power of a far higher quality than anything we can conceive of as humans, that they are not necessarily based on the cerebral and nervous structure that we know, and that the one and only chance for mankind to advance as a whole is for individuals to make contact with such beings. Aleister Crowley. Agree with him 100%. This is about your DNA to activate and awaken your dormant DNA. So let's become the warrior. Let's find the grail and let's drink out of it. DNA is in water, memory, because what you want is to take back your memory of who you are. The very thing that the Demiurge drowned in water 12,000 years ago. But they gave you the spark, the soul to ignite that memory again, to take it back. That was given by Lucifer or Prometheus or Prometheus. We have talked about the astral and the mental and Lilith. Now we will do the journey. But we will overcome it and we will transform through it, because you can, because you have soul, you have spark, and you are now the warrior. So let's do the same journey as David did in AI, but let's overcome it. We have the four mental fire, air elements, fire, air, water, and earth. If you combine them, we have the hexagram. Let's do that to begin with. Let's find the hexagram. Let's combine these elements. Let's create the Baphomet. Not the failed Baphomet, but the real deal. The metaphysical Baphomet. Let's start in earth. In Asaya. Malkuth is the energy in Asaya. On the dark side of the tree, the cliphotic tree, you have Lilith. We will go through the cliphotic tree. We will go through the darkness. Let's find Lilith's cave and enter Lilith's cave. Through Lilith, you will transform and you will start to take back the ability to see through the illusion and see into the metaphysical. To pierce the veil of illusion is at stake. When you see through the illusion, you can proceed to Gamaliel. Now you see, because if you don't understand that it is an illusion and that you can pierce it, then you are stuck in matter. Not until now. You didn't have any choice until now. Now you have the choice. Now you can see it. Now you can see Gamaliel, the moon, or the dark side of the moon. And that is water. The moon is the ebb and flow of the water is created by the moon. And this is about the astral, to have lucid dreaming and to leave matter behind completely. So it really takes off with the moon. For you to go there, you have to calm your mind. Meditate, yoga, go to your temple. Through your physical temple, you go through your body, your temple in flesh, and you transform it to heighten up your senses. Or change your senses so you can feel the energy from the cliphotic tree. Well, from the water comes the lady of the lake, rising up with the sword. And the sword is about air, logic, mind. But first you have to calm your mind. In order to come here, you have to calm your mind. You cannot use logic, rational thinking. This is all irrational, if you ask a person on the street. But this thing, they will like, you are crazy. Because they are in their mind and they will never start the journey. First, you have to calm your mind, use water, your intuitivity, your feelings, just shut down your mind. But now you need your intellect, your rationale with you as well. Now you need your sword. And now the lady comes with the sword. Now you have to discern. You have to be logic in your way of thinking as well. Nothing is logic on the other side, but at least you have your mind so you can try to make some rationale about your journey. Now you have your sword. The lady of the lake have given you the sword, meaning air, creativity, imagination. We talk about air. We can walk on air or water. We can start to walk over mem, and you will see your reflection in the water, an upside down, hanged man, because now you have a completely different perspective that have changed your life and change your perspective of who you are and what you can become. You see yourself in mem. You start to realize that you can take it all back. Your gaze start to penetrate the material, and you can see far into the metaphysical. What is possible? A new perspective. An upside down perspective. An upside down means correct in this circumstance. Now we have the force and the willpower to enter Samuel, the poison of God. We have to travel through the desert of Set. It's a long journey. It's a harsh journey. Many ordeals will be before you, but you will overcome them. Make this journey with me, and we will find the Grail. This is Taru Atu 20 Judgment, and that card is about that path is about Pluto and Vulcan, meaning Hades. This is not a pleasant pleasant travel. And Hades and Vulcan is god of the underworld. The abyss and death is before us. Vibration from the desert set into the physical world can be felt. And I've talked about it before, that the main man on the street feel the energy, but they are passive. They don't transform them. They become victims of this forces. To be ignorant is not the way. It doesn't save you. This is not a new age bullshit religion. This is the real deal. You cannot sing happy songs and think everything will solve in the end. No, you have to be active. This is the domain of the Scarlet Woman, Babylon, incarnating the cosmic serpent force, the Grail. And in that card number 11, in Carl the deck, a woman is riding a beast, 666, and she holds up the cup, the Grail, over her head. This is about purging, renewal, and resurrection, because you will overcome these forces. You will resurrect through them. You will not become a victim of them. The meaning of judgment reminds us that everything comes to an end and a new beginning is ahead. This is the fire of Set, which is typified by the pyramids, representing the ascent as well as the funeral pyre in which the body is burned so that the spirit can be released. Because you are spirit, and you will leave matter behind, including your body. Now I have to talk about Alan Greenfield's secret cipher a little bit. The secret cipher is based on the number 11, and it was derived from the Book of the Law. So Alan Greenfield found the cipher in the Book of the Law, Aleister Crowley's main book, and he created a new gematria through that cipher, and that cipher was based on the number 11. The secret cipher of the Ufonaut, he called it. If you type in the name Samael, you get the number 55 or 55. That's the sum. That's the gematria sum of the name Samael. And Samael is the poison of God. In Crowley's design for R27, the Graal, a crab, is depicted on the helm of the central figure, symbolic of the deep ones. In the earliest known zodiac, the sign of the crab was preceded by that of the beetle. The beetle is emblematic of a type of evolution destined to supersede on Earth the present human life wave. The bearer of the Grail, depicted on R27, may therefore be identified with the bringer to Earth of the Sang Real or Blood Royale. Kenneth Grant. The beetle or crab is therefore the link between the earliest manifestation of the Typhonian current and its final phase. Note that all three are insectival, for the crab is a kind of water beetle, or considered as such in occult lore. This phases constitute a link of a chain which precedes, includes, and then transcends a human component. Kenneth Grant. So the deep ones, the Typhonian current, we go back to Atlantean times with its gods, right? These are our old gods. And the beetle is attributed to Sirius, and it is the Sirius current we are after. This chain precedes, includes, and then transcends the human component. And we are talking about water, memory, language, nations, and in the end, your DNA. The bringer of the Graal may therefore be envisaged as offering to this terrestrial and alien race of humans the chance of communion with the Typhonian bloodline. For the bearer descends from the bear, Typhoon, which embodies the type of the Blood Royale, the Sangreal. Kenneth Grant. King Arthur Pendragon of Camelot was the son and heir of Uther Pendragon and the only child of Yggdrain de Bois. It has been argued that the name Arthur is derived from the bear, which corresponds with the Celtic bear gods Arthos or Artio. Arthur is the bear, is the Typhonian current. Henry Lincoln's researchers reveal a connection between the clan Plantard and the occult order of Sion. The Armigerous crest of the clan includes two bears. The name Sion equals 156, which is the number of Babylon, the Scarlet Woman, who collect in her Graal the blood of the saints. And you have it in card number 11 in Aleister Crowley's deck. "14 denotes the door or gateway. 14, 1 plus 4 equals 5, the number of the old ones and the basis of their Kabbalah. Is also the number of woman, the cup. and you have the pentagram, and you have Venus, you have Sarak, the dark side of Netzach, the cup. And you have the doorway, and of course card number 14, art, and the rainbow comes up. The doorway to the mental plane, to open up to Thagirion, Sirius, and to reach Arab-Sarak and beyond, of course. And now we are at Arab-Sarak. Samuel, the poison of God, and the Holy Grail. 806, the number of Thoth or Tahuti, who as Seth is the son of Typhon, the second bear. 806 also denotes the Empusa, whose emblem is the Calix Horroris, the cup of horror, Kenneth Grant. The cup of horror, Samuel, the poison of God, is not like the Holy Grail, but it is the Grail nonetheless. Samuel, the poison of God, and the Holy Grail, and you have the Grail in front of you right now. 55, 55. Pentagram, pentagram. And when you mirror the fives, you have the Grail cup. Graal, the cup of water that holds memory, water, mem. A process of magical remembering. The territory of the astral light is known in Theosophical circle as the Akashic records. It is the auric field of the cosmic archetype of memory on a lower level plane of emanation, and contains the knowledge and wisdom of human, planetary, and stellar history. The Akashic record holds all the keys to the wisdom of occult knowledge, and it is the aim of the adept to develop the rhythm of the Hierophant so that they may make contact with the Akasha, meaning water and the Grail. To take back your memory of who you are from the cup or the Grail. According to the Orphic cosmogony, the Muses were the daughters of Zeus, and Mnemosyne, remembrance, memory, arising from the celestial sphere. They represent the embodiment or vehicle by which gnosis is transmitted from the Akashic records. That is to say, that the Muses were the power of remembrance and reminiscence of knowledge previously enjoyed by the soul in the past births. The magical function of remembering enables the adept to witness the tidal magical radiations which lie behind the glamours, Lila or Maya, the shadow division or veiling of cosmic consciousness in nature. Meaning, when you take back your memory, ignite your DNA, you will see through this illusion and you will see who you really are. Through the water in the Grail, because water is memory. Once again, I will hammer home the meaning of Camelot. Camelot as a place, Camelot as a system, and we talked about this musical keys and mixed smoothly is based on the circle of fifths. Because music, sound, vibration can shake you into life again. Distorted light as a visual effect, distorted light as a symbol, symbolic meaning. Distorted light can be used metaphorically to represent something that is not as perfect or as ideal as it appears. It can suggest a hidden darkness, a flawed reality, or a state of uncertainty, and that light has to go. And you have to take it back. And you do it through darkness, because darkness is absent of distorted light. And you will see through the matrix. And you will take back your diamond, your highest self. The part in you who had never been born inside the matrix. In A Space Odyssey 2001, and this is the reason why I talked about the Grail. Stanley Kubrick show you the Grail, because Bowman, before he see through the illusion, take a sip out of the Grail. And that's a glass in the movie. And when he dropped it, the camera shakes. And then he see through the illusion. Because he had taken a sip from the poison of God, Samael. And now he see himself as an old man. And in the book, he penetrates matter completely and travels towards Sirius. Now I've decoded the Space Odyssey before, so I will not talk about it more than that this time around, because time is of essence here. In The Lord of the Ring, Frodo takes a sip from the poison, Samael's poison, when he takes on the ring, and he enters the other side, the Qliphothic tree, and reality becomes distorted, because Sauron is Samael and Ninurta Saturn in combination. And the dark side sees him now. When you have entered the Qliphothic tree, you cannot turn back. You see through the material into the metaphysical, but the metaphysical sees you as well. And makes no bones about it, humanity have enemies on the other side. Now he has Sauron's attention. Now we have to go all the way. Now we have to defeat and transform himself through the ordeal. Harsh ordeal of the Qliphothic tree. And we have entered Arab Sarak. And the dark side of Venus. And this is about war, love, and sexual magic. To use sex to overcome urges, primitive urges, for a higher purpose. Through war, willpower, and strife. And if you go through it, you start to ignite the fire. Your DNA, your spark. This is to use sex to ignite fire and lust. Part 11, Firewalk with me. Now we have the hexagram. Fire, air, water, earth. In combination, you have the hexagram, meaning a Baphomet, a metaphysical Baphomet, perfect combination of these elements, perfect combination of the masculine and the feminine, perfect balance in your mental makeup. You know when to push forward with fire, you know when to take a step back and meditate with water, you know how to handle earth, matter, you know how to use the sword, your logic, rational thinking, in order for you to proceed on your journey. You have become the hanged man. You see your reflection in water, and you have taken back your memory and you're hanged upside down because this is a new perspective for you. You cannot have anything to say about things you don't know exist. Now you know what is. Now you know who you are. Now you can act upon it. And you will walk on water because you are a perfect balance of these elements. And you will walk towards the sun, and you will see the sun is reflecting in the water. Now you're walking on fire. You're walking on mem, and you feel the air around you, and you are the earth. And you will reach the black sun, and you will go beyond, because you have your soul, you have your spark, you haven't given it up. And you will take back Lucifer's spark and your dormant DNA, and you will ignite. And this is the gift Prometheus sacrificed himself to give you. Because when you rise, they will rise with you. When you rise, you will break the chain of Prometheus, Lucifer. And you will awaken the DNA. It's not a fantasy. It's a very real thing. And you will overcome them. And you become much more than they can ever become. Because they are stuck. This is their playing field. This is matter. But you are not matter. If you don't give it away, you are soul, spirit, and spark. And you will overcome Thagirion, and you travel through the tunnel, through the mouth. You will leave AI. You will leave debauchery behind. You will become something more. And maybe you have to leave part of humanity behind. And you will run through the labyrinth, as Danny did. And you will see Jack freeze to death in the snow. And some people will decide that they want to leave and go back to source. But I say that our experience in matter have just begun. Because now you are soul. Therefore you can leave whenever you want. And the esoteric elite are gone. And the Demiurge defeated. Because the cat is out of the bag. And when you are, you will never go back again. Ever. Part 12, in the end. To create is to bring something new from nothing into full manifestation in all worlds. We are not creators. We take that which is and mold it and shape it. This is where the union and communion with man and woman becomes necessary. For you are creators. Your minds, your knowledge, your insights can lead you to understand or to imagine things that have yet to be brought into manifestation. Lucifer, Prometheus, or Prometheus. Yeah. The sound of silence return the extracted potential of human DNA to the one song of silence. This is the song of Lucifer himself. When one reverses the flow of energy from Kether to Malkuth through the gateway of shadow leading to Nama up to Thaumiel, this song can be experienced. When it is, the DNA is encoded with all knowledge gained from within the shells of death by the Luciferian light of darkness. This is to attain the occulted knowledge of the Book of Life by becoming it. Belial. And it comes from the heart. You cannot pierce the veil, the cliphotic tree, with logic and mind only. And therefore the esoteric elite are stuck, because that's the safe switch. Because they don't want them higher than the astral. Yes, they can hijack the astral through technology, but they cannot overcome it. They will try, and you will see it. but you have your heart, you have your spark, you have your soul still. And I suggest that you use it, because there are forces who want to take it all from you. And finally, you will set us free, the watchers, and we will walk with you again. Thank you, and it was a long one.
He made it. Yes, indeed. Whew. We made it, but it was awesome. Appreciate your work and the extra work you did because of the tech archon. So, yeah, I'm still soaking it up. Vince, any question or super chats on your end?
We do have a super chat from Lyricus. He wanted to know, David, what you think of the implications of the Leviathan in the Bible compared to the older stories of the sea serpent or chaos.
Yes. Leviathan is really your dormant unconscious. When you unlock it, you will release the Leviathan that will overthrow the golem god and the structure. That's the beast within you. That's the psyche within you that is wild and free. And that will overcome the structure. Leviathan is not a bad thing, but you have to control it, because the trick is not to allow it to go rampage or spread chaos, but what you mean, that's the impulse of creating something new from order. Remember, they want paradise, they want order. We want to overthrow that order. Leviathan is chaos, because it means that something new has to take form. I agree there. Something new has to take form and will take form. What we are talking about, what version will we have? In other words, you are the beast, you are the Leviathan. The Leviathan is the unconscious you, the dormant darkness within you. But you have to unlock it, transform it, and use it in a good way.
Under the water, so to speak.
Under the water, you're a mem, because you will remember who you are. You are the beast. But not a beast, a petty beast who killed your neighbor or waged war against other humans in matter, but the beast who waged war in the metaphysical. That is where the real war are at. If you don't want to have war in the metaphysical, you will act it out in matter instead, and you will have it in matter as a human race, as a collective.
Sounds familiar. Also want to shout out to Cosmic Karma Koala, one of our frequent visitors here in the virtual Alexandria.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I don't think they were here in the chat today. I think they had to leave, but they dropped by and gave us a super chat, which we greatly appreciate.
Indeed. Yeah, appreciate the support and appreciate everything. Good comments in the chat when I was able to look, as always. And yeah, great presentation. And of course, David, have your website on the links. Any new courses coming or anything you want to promote?
Yeah, thank you, Miguel. Yes, we will start another tarot course after the summer. If you want to join, please give me a mail, drop a mail. If you want me to decode King Arthur in one episode, focus on that. We can do it. Maybe if Miguel wanted, we can focus on the Camelot, the Grail, and Arthur.
I'm always game for Arthurian legends and deconstruction. Yeah. Always.
Maybe that
sucker
can be
for that.
It's very, very interesting. And of course, there's much more, but I can't talk too much about it. I will lose track of the Stanley Kubrick. It was about AI Kubrick.
Right.
But I want to point out there, remember, the details in Kubrick's movies make a huge difference. If you know that Bowman take a sip out of the Grail, the poison of God, Samel, that distorts your reality. That's the point of it, to distort reality and see through reality through poison. Then you understand why things start, why things happen as it does in the movie Space Odyssey 2001. It is not a coincidence. It's not because Stanley Kubrick wanted to take you on a silly ride. It's not because Stanley Kubrick got bored. It's not because he just rumbled around a script. No, everything in his movies are there for a purpose. And yes, you can understand it. It's not an enigma.
No, of course.
It is hard. It takes effort, but that is exactly what Kubrick wants. He wants to lead you into the labyrinth in The Shining, and then you have to find your way out of it. And through your action, and be active, you will understand. And that's the only way to understand.
Makes sense. I just saw this one pop up. Thank you, Mr. Mike Frank, for your support. Appreciate it. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so we will redouble back. We'll talk about the King. We'll talk about King Arthur, and you can let me know about Elvis since you just got the book. Yeah, and that's it. Yeah, check out David's work. Yeah, of course, please support AM Byte. As mentioned, that glitch, that horrible glitch with my podcast provider, it's similar to that of Rockfin. Well, Rockfin just booted me out with so many and took hundreds of dollars in crypto. This one's like thousands of dollars. I've got to figure out. So please support AM Byte. Definitely check out David's work. It's all good. Next week, we will have some great shows. Dr. David Litwell will join us to really delve into the concept of gnosis. And then we'll have a show also with Kevin Ken to talk about the Demiurge and the Archons from his Platonic surrealism perspective, which, of course, will include a lot of Philip K. Dick. But we are at the end. Yeah, Vance, thanks for keeping us company.
Oh, it was a fascinating journey from AI to the Holy Grail.
Thank you, Wilson. Sorry, it was a very long one, but it was very nice to wrap it up in one go, because sometimes people have a hard time to understand that if you divide it up, they don't view it as one big thing. And this is a big thing. Please understand. You will see, if you see it many times, you will see what I'm trying to tell you here. Stanley Kubrick knew a lot of things, and his movie is about many things, and the details is very important in his movies. I hope you will view his movies in a different light, and that you do view them after this one. Space Odyssey 2001, The Shining, Eyes Wide Shut, and AI, because they're all very great.
For sure.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for...
Yeah, it's been great. Yeah, thanks everybody. I hope Saturn behind you is happy, Vance. Usually he's not happy, but hopefully this time. And we overcame the tech archons and a great presentation. But we are at the end. I hope everybody enjoys their weekend. And until we meet again, take care, everybody.